What's up, YouTube? Capital G here. So this is going to be a video response to a video that Mickey Vlogs put up. It was either yesterday or the day before. I don't remember the title of it, but the gist of the video was that Yu-Gi-Oh could ultimately end up dying off if Konami doesn't address the format problems that they're having right now. Like, he feels a lot of people aren't enjoying the format. I completely agree with him, and that ultimately if they don't redeem themselves with this upcoming ban list, you know, and maybe you believe that it's true or that it's not true. Again, we're going to find out in 2 days regardless, that basically this game could be on its last leg and could ultimately die. We're going to have to completely agree to disagree. Now, this isn't a video where, you know, I take shots at him or anything like that. I mean, there's one argument and we're just on 2 different sides. Obviously, we can still have respectful debate and, you know, still respect each other's opinions and so on and so forth. But this is just my side of the argument. I mean, you've heard one side of the argument so far, but if you were on a jury and all you heard was the prosecution, I mean, you probably wouldn't be able to go back and deliberate fairly because you've only heard one side of the argument. And this is just my side. I'm not making this video just to be a contrarian. I'm making this video because when I heard Mickey's video, I just thought to myself, he's making good points. I just don't agree overall with what he's saying. And I think it'd be interesting after this video. The one YouTuber who I thought about instantly was Great Falls, Montana, because I know he's very, very good at this game. And not just that, but he's been playing since basically the beginning to see how he feels about this overall. But what Mickey said, I honestly don't think he could be farther from the truth. One thing that people need to understand, and this is a fact that you just cannot debate, is that Yu-Gi-Oh is the #1 selling trading card game on planet Earth. You cannot debate that. It's not Kajudo, whatever that is. It's not Cardfight Vanguard. It's not Pokemon. It's not Magic the Gathering. It's not Duel Masters, if that's even around anymore. It's none of those games. It's Yu-Gi-Oh! And people like to fictitiously believe that Konami basically stumbled, like they accidentally got in the first place. No, it's not. That's not even close to being the truth. Like, Magic basically had a stranglehold on the TCG market, on trading cards. You know what I mean? There really wasn't any competition, especially in North America. I mean, Konami didn't just accidentally fall into first place. And you look at, you know, some of the aspects of Yu-Gi-Oh that people might say, oh, that's the reason why they got in first place. You know, there had never been a card game from Japan that had an anime based around it and that had these wacky Japanese art. No, Pokemon had all of that. In fact, Pokemon as a franchise is much bigger than Yu-Gi-Oh. It was much bigger when it launched the trading card game, because if you've ever looked up the sales history of the Pokemon games, Pokemon's one of the highest selling video game franchises ever. Not just like a Nintendo franchise. All video game franchises. It's in the top 10 of all video game series. Pokemon was way bigger than Yu-Gi-Oh when it first came out, and it didn't do nearly as well, the card game anyway, didn't do nearly as well as Yu-Gi-Oh. So it wasn't like when Yu-Gi-Oh came out, it wasn't stuff that people had already seen, because they had already seen Japanese card games with Pokemon. You know what I mean? So clearly Konami did something right, and the aspect that no one ever thinks about is when Yu-Gi-Oh surpassed Magic the Gathering, which if you ask any people who play Magic, never thought that would happen because Magic dominated forever. It's not like Wizards of the Coast just sat around and said, oh, well, we've been bested. I guess we'll just be satisfied with second place forever. I mean, I'm pretty sure they were livid. They probably went to the research lab, tried to think of, you know, grand card designs and how they could fix their ban list so that more people would be attracted to the game. They probably reduced the prices. I mean, they probably came up with hundreds of ways to try and better their game to attract new customers. Do you know what the end result of that was? It didn't work, obviously, because it hasn't changed. Yu-Gi-Oh hasn't been the #1 selling game for the last 6 weeks or for the last 6 months. It's been years and years and years. You know, the creators of Magic and Pokemon aren't just sitting around saying, we're perfectly content with second and third place. We don't really need to even attempt to dethrone Yu-Gi-Oh. I mean, every single day, I'm pretty sure they're looking at ways to potentially, you know, try and get rid of the stranglehold that Yu-Gi-Oh has on the market. More card games aren't really going to change that, in my opinion. Especially when you had just a colossal juggernaut like Magic being dethroned. Now let's say hypothetically, and this is a big stretch. Let's say that Cardfight Vanguard became the #1 selling trading card game worldwide in 18 months. So because Yu-Gi-Oh is #2, we just stopped playing it. Like everything you love and know about Yu-Gi-Oh ceased to exist because it's the second biggest trading card game. That's like if everybody just stopped playing Magic because it became #2. That's the only thing that would happen. If Cardfight Vanguard overtook Yu-Gi-Oh, Yu-Gi-Oh would just become #2. I mean, if being the second biggest trading card game in the world doesn't make you viable, then what is Magic? I mean, just because you're #2, like you love the game less, or the game's gonna magically evaporate. I'm not understanding people's mindset of, oh well, if Vanguard gets big, what? Yu-Gi-Oh Konami stops making money off Yu-Gi-Oh? No, I mean being #2 is still a damn good feat. Like if being #2 doesn't matter, you might as well say Oklahoma City Thunder, you know what? Don't even show up next year since you can't beat the Miami Heat. Don't even bother. And let's say again that hypothetically Cardfight Vanguard surpassed Yu-Gi-Oh. Do you really think Konami would not do every single thing? Do you not think they would bring out every single thing that they have in their bag of tricks to get players back? I mean, of course. They would try every single thing that they could think of to attract the player, not only players that they've lost, but players that they could potentially, or players that they never had. And that's another aspect that everybody seems to conveniently forget. Let's say everybody seems to think that there can only be like a fixed number of competitive players. Like if there are 100 players in the world who play Yu-Gi-Oh and 50 of them quit because they say, oh, this format is horrible. Like there can only be 50 Yu-Gi-Oh players forever. Okay, well, what about if Dennis Johnson quits Yu-Gi-Oh, but Dennis Johnson's sister, Sarah, starts playing? Well, you really haven't lost any revenue. Let's say Sarah tells her best friend, Katie. Okay, so now you've lost Dennis Johnson, but 2 people have replaced him. So you're actually netting. I mean, this is like basic card advantage just in terms of people. Like, I don't think that people understand the viability of the game. It's almost ludicrous to think that it's going to be determined in a span of 6 months. And the reason I'm saying this is because, again, this is where I bring up Great Falls, Montana. If you've been playing this game like I have, where I've been playing since the game, I've been playing since Magic Ruler. I mean, most people don't even remember back then. I've been playing since Magic Ruler. Yes, I took, a couple of formats off here and there. GOAT format, Glad format, really good formats, unfortunately. I took some of those off, but it starts to become a recurring theme of people saying the same thing. Oh my God, I hate the Glad format. There's only one deck. If you don't play Glad, you can't win. That's why everybody's quitting this game. It's going to be dead in like a year. Next year, it's perfectly fine. Oh my God, I hate Teledead. If you don't have a $900 deck plus a $300 crush card, you can't win in this game. That's why everybody's quitting. And then a year later, it's just, I mean, it's like, okay. Now I will say this because I'm not trying to be a Konami apologist. What Konami just did with the ban list, and it's evident. I honestly wish they would have just came out and said it, because then it just would have been. It would have looked at least admirable, like they're not lying about it. What they just did with that ban list for March was the single biggest injustice that they've ever done in the history of this game. It's the worst. I mean, I really think that is the worst act that they have ever done as a company as far as Yu-Gi-Oh goes. It was terrible. But if there was another ban list that was bad, it's not like the game is just going to evaporate and not be played. You're talking about the biggest trading card game in the world that's, again, has competition. The competition out there isn't sitting around twiddling their thumbs not trying to dethrone Yu-Gi-Oh. They've been doing this for 5 years and they haven't done it. What's changed? I mean, ultimately, that's what I really want to know. You have more competition? Okay, well, again, Magic and Pokemon, it's not like they've been sitting around not trying to make more money. So I just don't understand it. And I understand because this sounds like I'm defending Konami, which I'm ultimately not. I'm actually just defending the viability of the game. I know that people will probably dislike the hell out of this video, and that's perfectly fine. There's one thing I always try and have in this channel, and it's not a popular thing to have in reality or to have in life. It's called perspective. It basically says, don't be defined by the moment. Don't be a prisoner of the moment. Don't let what's happening right now in this span of time in Yu-Gi-Oh alter the way you think going forward. Don't trick yourself into believing what's happening right now is the most important thing in the grand scheme of the entire you know, 10 years of this game's history. Don't throw everything else out the window because you had one bad format. So now you're going to quit and you think this game's just going to shrivel away. I mean, again, if you've been around the block, you've played in some bad formats. You understand that there will be good formats, there will be bad formats, and I mean, you got 10 years of history that says that the game's not going anywhere. I mean, I don't care if you have 50 Kajutos that come out next year. I really don't see Yu-Gi-Oh! Evaporating. Is there a possibility that the game could become second worldwide? Yeah, but again, if you're telling me that second place ain't shit, then I'll write a letter to Kevin Durant right now, and I will basically say, Oklahoma City Thunder, don't even bother playing since you can't beat the Miami Heat, because there's no point if you can only get second place. You know what I mean? So I just want to know what you guys think. I think the game is going to be viable for, God, at least another 5 years. I mean, Magic is what, like 15, 16 years old? I mean, I think Magic came out when I was like 10 or something like that. I mean, Magic's been going strong forever. So I just want to know what you guys think.